Good morning, everybody. My name is Jody. My husband David John and I have a small farm in the panhandle of North Idaho. These are our stories and adventures. So welcome to Moose Flats Farm. And today we are out in the hoop house. It is 65 degrees out, which really isn't that chilly, but with the wind blowing, and I really don't want to, towards the end of June, put a sweatshirt on. And I've got to work out here anyways, so this kind of works as a double because I don't have to be in the breeze, but I can get a project done. So today we're going to go through and get all the peas cut out of here. I am going to leave the roots because the roots will have little nodules on them of nitrogen that is soluble as they're breaking down for the pepper plants that we're going to be planting in here. And I'm going to be collecting the beets, see how many we got, what sizes they are. But anyway, they've got to come out so I can get the peppers put in. So let's get this place kind of cleaned up. So the easiest way to go about leaving the roots in the ground from the peas is just going to be to take my garden shears and just snip off the pea at the ground level, and we'll just go through, get all the peas removed and fed to the birds, and then we'll work on the beets. So got all the peas out of here, and boy does that make it look different in here. So the next step will be go through, pull out the beets. I do have a tray to collect them in and see what other weeds that need to be pulled out before we can get our peppers planted. So harvesting beets is pretty straightforward because it is a root vegetable. You'll just take it and pull it up, and there we've got a little beet. We will go through and cut the tops off, leaving about an inch or so of the leaf stalk, just so when I get down to the house and I wash them and clean them, they're not going to be bleeding beet juice right now. And that one's ready to go into the pan and go down to the house for making pickled beets. So I'm going to go through, get the rest of these pulled out and cleaned up, and be back with you in a second to show you how much I got. Well, not an over massive harvest of beets, but definitely enough that I should probably will get around 5-6 quarts of pickled beets. And on these bigger ones I will quarter them, and then I've got some little ones that will just get the tops and the base of the root clipped off. But I gotta go down and get these guys washed and cleaned up and in the fridge till I have time to pickle them. So I'm going to stop in the hoop house for right now, go down to the house, get some chores done, and either later this afternoon or tomorrow we'll be back to get these peppers planted. Well guys, the last I left you, we'd gotten the hoop house cleaned out, getting ready to plant the peppers. And the shifts I've been working has been the early shift, which means it's great because in the afternoon I can come home and plant stuff, but then it's too hot and my camera does not like the heat. So I did go through and get the hoop house planted, show you what that looks like, and other things that have been going on. So I was able to stagger plant the peppers and leave the carrots right down the middle. And got these guys down here. And then these ones don't have any carrots in the middle, so they're just stagger planted, kind of full of fruit, which is kind of impressive, and I'll explain why here in a minute. But a little bit of everything. And then back to peppers and carrots. And I have done some in the 5-gallon buckets. And the reason I'm stating that, I'm kind of impressed that I have fruit on these plants, is peppers don't like it when the nighttime temperatures drop below 60. It kind of shocks them and stunts them. And we're typically dropping down to high 40s. So it is kind of impressive that they are doing anything at all. But the garlic out here in front of the greenhouse has matured, and how you can tell is the bottom couple leaves brown, and that means they're ready to harvest. And I just pulled them out and have them laying here, just trying to dry and cure. Later this afternoon I'll go through and knock the rest of the soil off of the root balls and everything, kind of clean them up and get them down into the seed shed for storage for this winter. But the sun's going to be in your eyes. The sunflowers over here have started to bloom. And we have just permanently closed that gate because it's now to the point I can't get through. And we cleaned up the path going around the greenhouse, kind of. So I'll meet you on the other side. So in the greenhouse I have my pots of old potting mix that I need to get into a garbage can. The cannery bells need to get up potted. A couple of rosemary and stevia. And then the evening primrose definitely needs to get up potted. But as far as what David John's been working on, we went up to my mom and dad's and got a trailer full of firewood, so I've been working on getting that all split. So log splitter's getting a workout. That stack got to get stacked in there. But we were almost completely out, and now we're about half full, or a little over half. And I did the other day purchase this little earthquake cultivator. And the main reason I got it was for cleaning up the pens themselves, because when it's compacted like that, it's hard to rake up and clean. So I've got the pens kind of tilled up. Have the deck gate open, seeing if they're going to come out and eat some of the grass in the runway, which they're not. So they're probably just going to get shooed back in. And then I'll let the chickens out and Sultan. And it is springtime on the farm. Girls are fighting. I've got baby ducks galore. Went through and cleaned out their pond this morning, and the babies were ready to get back in. And we did have a baby goose hatch. So we got all the little puddle ducks. And then over there was two mommies. This little boat. I did spend an hour trying to figure out how to pronounce boat in Old Norse. Yeah, my tongue just can't wrap around it. Look at all of those babies. But the pumpkins out here are doing really good. The ones in the back and the middle are really taking off. The couple here in front, not as much. And when I take you down to the garden, I think it's because of the cold temperature. Some things are doing really great, or okay with the cooler night temps, and other stuff not liking it as much. But on to some sad news, and it's one of those, this is part of the reason we're getting out of turkeys, and the having babies and not putting them in a brooder where they're protected, you do run this risk. But Shadow has unfortunately lost all three of her baby turkey pullets. Turkeys are the hardest to keep alive, but the one was doing really, really good. Looked absolutely wonderful last night, and this morning I came out and it had passed. Not sure why. Had food, had water, but not sure. But we got Baby Boat, and Baby Boat's doing good. Knock on wood that it continues. So let's go down to the garden and I'll show you what it's looking like. Before I get too far, the raspberry bush here and the bushes here in the duck pen are starting to produce lots and lots of raspberries. So keep you guys out of the sun. Let's go to the garden. She's starting to fill in. The blackberries are doing really good. Need to get a couple T-posts so I can get them staked up. The garlics over here, they're about 2 weeks behind the other garlic for harvesting. So, sorry. So we'll be pulling those out in about 2 weeks. Not sure what I'm going to put in these beds, because if I plant something, then I won't have these beds for the garlic for next year, because you have to plant the garlic in the early fall. But I have gone through and in these rows here planted green beans. Don't really see anything on my bush beans yet, but over here I've got my, I didn't tag these ones, oops. Don't remember. But these beds here are my dry beans. So, and they're planted with the squash. And it's like these guys right here. When I planted these squash out here, those were the pots that none of the seeds had germinated, so I just smash the pots just to add to the soil. And then of course those seeds decided to germinate. But got a little dry bean coming up there. And other one there. But like that raspberry is just taken off. My strawberry bed. And this year has done the best that it's ever done. I've gotten 2 1-gallon freezer bags completely full of frozen strawberries in the freezer for making preserves. And I am unfortunately going to have to dig these guys out and put them somewhere else as a permanent home, because this bed is about 6 inches. The soil has not compacted. The wood down below, because it's the Hugel style of bed, the wood has decomposed that much that it has shrunk. And with the plants in here permanently, I have no way to add to that soil, so I'm gonna have to pull them out this fall. But on the trellis here, you can see this scarlet runner bean is doing really good. And talking about squashes, this is the Costa Roma something. I believe it is the green and white striped one, and it really liked being planted in this bed because it's just massive. Some more scarlet runner beans getting ready to bloom. These scarlet runner beans, even though they have some flowers down in there because of the potatoes, it kind of shaded them so they didn't get a chance to take off. So have to remember not to do that next year. And over here, I got the tag for that squash on the other side, but they're looking okay. A couple more scarlet runner beans. These green zucchinis. My bonus raspberry cane. It's just loaded with fruit and nice big fruit. So this is the early prolific squash, so that's going to be a yellow squash. And out here in the in-ground garden, let's go over and start with this first row. And I did plant some hot peppers out here. They're looking a little rough. But like I said, they don't like the cold that we're having at night. But the tomatoes are just doing phenomenal. We'll have to get out here and go through and get some pruning done and a little more tying up. Like the 4 little butterstick zucchinis. Got these tomatoes that I've gotten all pruned and tied up. And they are setting fruit and still have good flowers, production coming on. The onions are doing really good below them. A couple sunflowers. Which one are you? So this is the other Italian one, zucchini. I think this is the one that is, when you cut it, it's going to be star-shaped. I'll put the names for the ones I can't pronounce on the screen. Another wall of tomatoes with the marigolds and onions underneath. A bunch of fruit, and those are my Cherokee purples. Got a couple Romas down here that are full of fruit. And then we come over to where I have my cucumbers, which some are doing really, really good and others not so much. So all my cucumbers were planted at the same time. So you got two little plants there. The dill and that potato. Dill. Mini roses and the pansies. And then you've got that cucumber. Looks really good in comparison. And then more squash. This one is the butter dish, so it's a yellow squash. Those two little zucchinis not doing great. Cilantro. Echinacea about ready to bloom. This one's just loaded with flowers. And then a couple more cucumber plants. And then you've got a couple more, get out of the sun, a couple more there. This wall of tomatoes with the sunflowers and onions and marigolds. That bonus bed of raspberries really pushing out a lot of fruit. And then we come to the corn and sunflower bed, and they say if your corn's knee high by 4th of July, which today is the 6th of July, and that's for the most part is waist high, so hopefully we should get corn this year. This little rose bed is doing really good. Need to get that raspberry dug out. My climbing rose is just covered with blossoms. My new little almost black rose is put on a whole bunch of new growth. And then you remember how I planted Malabar spinach in here? It germinated, and I'll show you, but it's just not growing. I don't know. So like I said, and I don't know if it's because it gets not enough sun here, because the rose kind of shades it, but like I said, it's just been a weird year growing stuff. The one apple tree is loaded with fruit. As you can see in here, I have to go through and do some careful pruning of all the fruit trees. They just need a cleanup. I'll probably get that done this fall, because I could prune probably the two in the back that don't have any fruit, and it won't hurt them at all. Let's go look at the stuff on the seed shed, because it's kind of hit and miss also. Weird year. The volunteer bachelor buttons are doing great though. And some of my, like this Minnesota midget is taken off. Those ones finally are. Looks like the Morning Glory might do something. Those guys are still way small. And this one over here, a little bit of growth. It's like that Morning Glory is doing phenomenal. And the Mine Peaches over here. So there is hope that I'm going to have to put the trellis up, but the little sweet peppers here look really good. The Wild Mess flower pot. The pepper tower itself, and there is a lot of fruit coming on. In this little volunteer bed with the angel in it. So this is where I'm going to end today's video. I hope you have a good day and a good week. Oh, before I do that, you guys want to go see what the baby chicks that aren't baby chicks look like now? They're all grown up and have been moved all over the front yard and are working on their second pass through the front yard. And there's the mobile coop. And we have the door on the coop open. David John just put that shade cloth up just to give them a little more protection from the sun. What you guys doing? Oh, I'm watering into their pen. Gonna have to move that sprinkler. Oh yeah, watering them really good. But we've been letting them out just to kind of run around and eat the bugs and everything. They're not getting into anything yet, so not gonna be doing a little fence around them. So this is where I'm honestly gonna end today's video. I hope you have a good day and a good week. Got to move this sprinkler and get them in some dry ground. Bye for now.